In the final months of World War II, American troops made a chilling discovery deep within a cave in central Germany. Hidden away were thousands of documents that would reveal one of the Third Reich's most bizarre and sinister projects: a worldwide quest to prove Nazi racial theories through archaeology and mysticism. These files exposed the workings of the Ahnenerbe, an elite SS research organization established by Heinrich Himmler. Far from a standard academic institution, this was a systematic attempt to rewrite history itself. The Ahnenerbe dispatched expeditions across the globe, from the peaks of Tibet to the desert temples of Iraq, all in service of proving German racial superiority. The documents unveiled 3 extraordinary missions that bordered on the fantastic: a search for the lost civilization of Atlantis, believed to be the homeland of an ancient master race; expeditions to Tibet seeking traces of pure Aryan bloodlines; and perhaps most remarkably, a quest to find the Holy Grail itself. But this wasn't just academic research. It was part of Himmler's grand vision to replace Christianity with a new religion built on Nazi ideology. What emerged from these cave documents was far more disturbing than a mere treasure hunt. This discovery revealed how the Nazi regime had twisted archaeology and scholarship into tools of terror, showing the deadly consequences when science is corrupted by fanaticism. Adolf Hitler built his entire ideology around one central belief: that Germans were descendants of an ancient master race called the Aryans. This unshakable conviction would drive the Nazi regime into an obsessive quest for proof that simply didn't exist. Heinrich Himmler, Hitler's most devoted follower, took this mission personally. The son of a strict schoolmaster, Himmler combined his father's pedantic nature with a dangerous obsession with mysticism and the occult. As head of the SS, he transformed what began as a protection unit into something far more sinister: a pseudo-religious order built on ideas of racial purity and ancient Germanic traditions. In his determination to prove Nazi racial theories, Himmler created the Ahnenerbe, an SS research department staffed by academics and scientists. These weren't just harmless scholars pursuing historical curiosities. Their real purpose was to construct an elaborate mythology of Aryan supremacy, no matter how much they had to distort or fabricate evidence to do so. But Himmler's ambitions went even further. He despised Christianity as a Jewish faith that weakened the German spirit. Under his direction, the SS became a new kind of religious order, with its own ceremonies and rituals. Traditional Christian holidays were replaced with pagan celebrations. SS officers were married in special ceremonies and their children given pagan naming rights. Through the Ahnenerbe's work, Himmler wasn't just trying to rewrite history. He was attempting to forge an entirely new religion built on Nazi ideology and German mysticism. For centuries, the Holy Grail has captivated the imagination of seekers and dreamers. According to Christian tradition, it was the cup used at the Last Supper, later used by Joseph of Arimathea to catch Christ's blood at the crucifixion. But as the legend grew, the Grail became something more: a mystical object promising eternal life and miraculous healing to whoever possessed it. In medieval literature, the Grail took on new forms. The 13th century poet Wolfram von Eschenbach reimagined it not as a cup, but as a mysterious stone of incredible power. His tale of Parsifal, a knight searching for this sacred relic, would later captivate readers across Europe. The Grail became central to Arthurian legend, with Knights of the Round Table dedicating their lives to its quest. But in Nazi Germany, Heinrich Himmler would give the Grail legend a sinister new interpretation. Obsessed with the occult, he came to view the Grail not as a Christian relic, but as an ancient Aryan artifact of power. He transformed the medieval Wewelsburg castle into his own version of Camelot, complete with a round table and ritual chamber. In the castle's north tower, he even prepared a special chamber where he believed the Grail would eventually rest. This twisted reimagining of the legend wasn't mere fantasy. It was part of Himmler's grand vision to remake the SS into a new order of Germanic knights. His black uniformed men would be modern Templars, seeking mystical artifacts to prove their imagined Aryan heritage. The quest for the Holy Grail had become entangled with the darkest chapter of 20th century history. On February 18, 1904, a boy was born in Michelstadt, Germany, who would become one of history's most enigmatic Grail hunters. Otto Rahn grew up immersed in medieval legends, encouraged by his mother's fascination with tales of the Holy Grail. While other children played soldiers, young Otto lost himself in stories of knights and their sacred quests. At the University of Gießen, Rahn's childhood fascination found academic purpose under Professor Baron von Gaal. Earning his degree in philology in 1924, Rahn became captivated by an audacious idea: that medieval literature could lead to real historical discoveries. He drew inspiration from Heinrich Schliemann, who had found the legendary city of Troy by treating Homer's Iliad as a map rather than mere myth. With scholarly precision, Rahn focused on Wolfram von Eschenbach's 13th century epic Parzival, which described the Grail not as a cup, but as a mysterious stone of power. The young scholar became convinced that the Grail was connected to the Cathars, a persecuted medieval religious sect. Their last stronghold, Montségur Castle in southern France, seemed to match Eschenbach's description of the mythical Grail castle Montsalvesche. In 1931, Rahn journeyed to the French Pyrenees, a region locals called Grail Country. Working with French historian Antonin Gadal, he spent months exploring the vast network of caves beneath Montségur. Deep in these caverns, Rahn made intriguing discoveries: strange engravings, a pentagonal carving in the Bethlehem Grotto, and what he believed were Cathar artifacts. Berlin, 1933. The Nazi regime has seized control of Germany, and Otto Rahn, a young scholar obsessed with finding the Holy Grail, has hit rock bottom. His years of research in the French Pyrenees have left him penniless, with nothing to show but a modestly successful book and a mountain of debt. Then comes a mysterious telegram that will change his life forever. The message offers an astonishing sum, 1,000 Reichsmarks monthly, to continue his Grail research. Following the instructions to 7 Franz Albert Strasse, Rahn finds himself face to face with Heinrich Himmler, the second most powerful man in Nazi Germany. To Rahn's amazement, Himmler has not only read his book, Crusade Against the Grail, he's memorized it. The bargain seems simple enough. The SS will fund Rahn's research, no expense spared. All he has to do is wear their black uniform and join their ranks. When you don't have any money, and somebody offers you 1,000 Reichsmarks a month to do your hobby, why not? Rahn would later remark sheepishly to a friend. But in accepting Himmler's offer, this idealistic scholar was about to make a deal with the devil himself. With the full resources of the Nazi state behind him, Otto Rahn's quest for the Holy Grail expanded far beyond the caves of southern France. From 1935 to 1936, he led expeditions across Europe, from the ancient pagan sites of Germany to the remote reaches of Iceland. Each journey was meticulously documented in top-secret reports sent directly to Heinrich Himmler's inner circle. Though he was a poor soldier, smoking too much and struggling with military discipline, Rahn proved valuable to the SS in other ways. His research took him to the towering Steiner Rock Formation in northwestern Germany, where ancient Germanic tribes had once worshipped, and to sacred sites across France, Spain, Italy, and Scotland. Each location was carefully chosen to support Himmler's vision of an Aryan holy relic. By 1937, Rahn had channeled his findings into a new book, Lucifer's Court. Himmler was so impressed that he ordered 5,000 copies bound in the finest leather and distributed to the Nazi elite. The book soon became required reading for SS officers seeking promotion. But there was a dark side to this success. Rahn discovered that unknown hands had inserted anti-Semitic passages into his work, twisting his academic research to serve Nazi ideology. As his expeditions continued, Rahn found himself leading teams of SS personnel through ancient ruins and subterranean caverns across Europe. Medieval texts became his maps as he searched for any evidence that might link the Grail to Aryan history. Though he rose to the rank of Oberfuhrer, his real value to the Reich lay not in military prowess, but in his willingness to bend his scholarship to Himmler's occult obsessions. By 1937, Otto Rahn's quest for the Holy Grail had reached a devastating end. After years of searching across Europe, he had failed to produce any evidence of the sacred relic. Heinrich Himmler's patience was exhausted. The man who had once been Germany's most promising Grail hunter was stripped of his rank and assigned to guard duty at the Dachau concentration camp. What Rahn witnessed at Dachau filled him with terror, and not just because of the brutality he saw. He carried two deadly secrets that could send him to the other side of the camp's barbed wire. He was both gay and Jewish. His mother Clara's Jewish heritage meant his required certificate of racial purity would reveal a truth that meant certain death. In anguish, he wrote to a friend, "It's impossible for a tolerant, liberal man like me to live in a nation that my native country has become." In February 1939, Rahn made what would prove to be his final decision. He submitted his resignation from the SS, an organization that few ever left alive. Though Himmler accepted it, there was no real escape. According to some accounts, Rahn was given a choice: face exposure of his secrets, or take his own life. On March 13, 1939, local children found Rahn's frozen body in a ravine near Seoul, in the Austrian Alps. He was 34 years old. Beside him lay two empty bottles. His death was privately ruled a suicide, but officially reported as a mountaineering accident. In a final twist of irony, he had chosen a date close to March 16th, the anniversary of the Cathars' last stand at Montségur, whose tragic fate he had studied so passionately. Even in death, Rahn seemed to echo the medieval heretics he had spent his life pursuing. The failure of the Nazi quest for the Holy Grail would ultimately intertwine with some of history's darkest moments. Heinrich Himmler's obsession with mysticism and racial superiority didn't just lead to failed expeditions, it helped justify unspeakable crimes. The Ahnenerbe, originally created to prove Aryan supremacy through archaeology, became deeply complicit in the Holocaust, using pseudo-science to define racial categories that would determine life and death. Himmler himself would meet a similar end like Otto Rahn. As the Third Reich crumbled in 1945, he was captured by Allied forces. Rather than face justice for his crimes, he took poison while in British custody at Lüneburg. The man who had sought immortality through ancient relics died a criminal's death, leaving behind a legacy of unimaginable suffering. The Nazi quest for the Holy Grail stands today as a chilling reminder of how mythology and pseudoscience can be twisted to serve hatred. While their failed expedition has inspired countless books and films, including the Indiana Jones series, its true legacy lies in demonstrating the dangers when mysticism meets political power. The real tragedy was not the failure to find a legendary cup, but how the search helped justify genocide through a veneer of academic authority.